this is the latest in a series of investigations that WION has been carrying out as the WhatsApp snooping row gets bigger. Our West Asia Bureau Chief Daniele Pagani has tracked down the NSO headquarters, which had earlier moved out of its original building to an undisclosed building complex. Daniele Pagani getting you this report from outside the new headquarters, as he was not allowed to shoot from inside the building.
I am currently in the business quarter of Tel Aviv, to the north of the capital city of Israel, a place called Herzliya. After days of research, we have been able to find where the NS group is finally and definitely currently located. It's the big building you see behind me, the taller one on the back, this one that you can see. It's an anonymous building and there is no logo outside, but I have access to their premises and I have had a word with the doorman. It is a secure building. There is a large waiting hall with Israeli flags. There is no way to get inside the building without a badge because there is a security checkpoint. The doorman very clearly said that yes, the NSO group is located there, but I cannot access them. I cannot talk to them. It was impossible also for him to call them. The only way I would have had as a journalist to access the NSO company would have been to provide a name inside the company who knew my name and confirmed the fact that they were actually waiting for me. And this comes after days that we at WION and I personally have tried to reach out to the company in order to get their version of the story. But this is completely a sign of how this kind of companies operate. They have released an interview to a very popular Israeli website saying that silence is their strategy, so they would like to keep silent. But this is the building, so now we can positively say that we actually found their premises, but there is unfortunately no way to talk them, to access them, unless they agree specifically to meet on the very purpose of the story we're following, which is the story of the lawsuit that WhatsApp is throwing against them. In fact, WhatsApp has accused the company, or the product, or the flagship product of this company, the Pegasus software, of having been used to hack many people all around the world. Diplomats, political activists, dissidents and journalists, and 120 of them have also been hacked in India.
Right, and we have our West Asia Bureau Chief Daniele Pagani now joining us live on the broadcast from outside the NSO office. That is the new spot where the office has been shifted. We also have our London Bureau Chief Mandy Clark joining us for more. Coming to you first, Daniele, tell us in more detail what exactly you saw when you reached that spot and how you were not allowed to enter inside. What were you told?
The building is an anonymous tall building where several offices are located, mostly IT companies, mostly cybersecurity companies. It's an anonymous building. You can enter within the waiting hall. There is a doorman and there is a checkpoint which you will need a badge in order to cross and to access the elevators bringing you up to the many floors of the building. Clearly the doorman asked me who was I, and I had to disclose the fact that I was a journalist and I was trying to get in touch since several days I was trying to get in touch with the NSO company. He told me that the NSO company was actually there inside that building, but it was not possible for him to grant me access because he would need me to provide a name inside the company in order to call that name and inquire if they were actually waiting for me, which they weren't. I have no name inside of the company because there is no way to directly talk with a company like the NSO groups. We at WION and I personally have sent several emails in order to try to understand if they wanted to set the record straight, because we do not have their side of the story. As a matter of fact, they only gave us the official statement saying that their products are used only to fight terrorism and to provide more security. But we know now, as a matter of fact, that the Pegasus software has been used also to track down political activists, foreign diplomats and political dissidents and human rights campaigners, which are definitely not a security threat and not surely terrorists. So they won't talk. Silence is their practice, so we won't have the record straight on their side of the story, which means maybe they're okay with what is being said about them.
Very interesting. Stay with me, Daniele. Also getting in Mandy Clark, our London Bureau Chief, onto the conversation. Legal trouble also is mounting for the NSO group. Mandy, tell us in more detail what you've been able to gather through your sources.
So there is a Saudi human rights campaigner, but also a satirist. He's an incredibly popular YouTube channel where he does do satires on the Saudi royal family. He, for a long time, felt that his phone was hacked for a number of reasons. He gave his phone to an independent group that confirmed that it had all the hallmarks of the NSO software. So with that, he believes the hack was originating from Saudi Arabia. The law firm Lee Day is representing the client, and they are taking the Saudi government and the NSO software to court over this breach of rights and hacking.
All right, and Daniele Pagani, as we just told our viewers, has been on the ground taking us through the series of investigations that we have been conducting. Let's take a listen in once again and have a look at what Daniele Pagani found when he went to that spot where the NSO office has now been shifted to, and this is what he found there.
I am currently in the business quarter of Tel Aviv, to the north of the capital city of Israel, a place called Herzliya. After days of research, we have been able to find where the NS group is finally and definitely currently located. It's the big building you see behind me, the taller one on the back, this one that you can see. It's an anonymous building and there is no logo outside, but I have access to their premises and I have had a word with the doorman. It is a secure building. There is a large waiting hall with Israeli flags. There is no way to get inside the building without a badge because there is a security checkpoint. The doorman very clearly said that yes, the NSO group is located there, but I cannot access them. I cannot talk to them. It was impossible also for him to call them. The only way I would have had as a journalist to access the NSO company would have been to provide a name inside the company who knew my name and confirmed the fact that they were actually waiting for me. And this comes after days that we at WION and I personally have tried to reach out to the company in order to get their version of the story. But this is completely a sign of how this kind of companies operate. They have released an interview to a very popular Israeli website saying that silence is their strategy, so they would like to keep silent. But this is the building, so now we can positively say that we actually found their premises, but there is unfortunately no way to talk them, to access them, unless they agree specifically to meet on the very purpose of the story we're following, which is the story of the lawsuit that WhatsApp is throwing against them. In fact, WhatsApp has accused the company, or the product, or the flagship product of this company, the Pegasus software, of having been used to hack many people all around the world. Diplomats, political activists, dissidents and journalists, and 120 of them have also been hacked in India.
So what you just saw on your screens is an investigation like no other. It's an investigation into what is turning out to be the biggest spying scandal in cyber history. We have been reporting extensively on the WhatsApp hack. And with neither the agencies nor WhatsApp giving us a clear picture, we decided to investigate ourselves. And that's just a part of the investigation that you're seeing on your screens. Over the weekend, we set out to find the company that is at the center of this storm. We are talking about the NSO group, owned by Israelis, located in Israel's capital, Tel Aviv, the company that WhatsApp has taken to court in the United States. You may not have heard about the NSO group before, but now it is dominating headlines. It is the company that is helping governments around the world to spy on you. Their tool is a software called Pegasus. It is a surveillance product. It hacks smartphones. The Israeli government classifies it as a weapon. It is believed that Pegasus used a bug in WhatsApp to penetrate smartphones around the world. Smartphones of thousands of users turned into snooping devices. This list of victims includes more than 100 Indians, and that is just the beginning. That brings us to the immediate question of who is snooping on these Indians? Who is paying the NSO group to enter their mobile phones? To find the answers, we decided to track down the NSO group. WION World is One's Daniele Pagani traveled to Tel Aviv. He landed at the headquarters of the NSO group in the city's business district of Herzliya. Guess what he found there? There was no office, no NSO. It was like the firm had vanished into thin air almost overnight. He obviously did not get the address wrong. The office was very much there. There is ample proof of it. But now the signs have all been removed. And with the lawsuit in the US and the scandal exploding in their face, the NSO group has gone underground. And now it emerges they shifted to another location. And as Daniele Pagani was telling us, he was not allowed inside. And silence is the strategy that is being adopted by the NSO group. Given the size of this company, their last valuation put them at $1 billion. That's the scale and magnitude we are talking about. They have 45 countries and clients. And that, of course, makes this case extremely murky. Daniele has been on the ground for the last few days, tracking every piece of this investigation and putting it all together for us. Daniele, let me bring you in here. You did go to the original location, the location where the NSO headquarters were have been stationed all throughout. But post this story breaking is when they shifted to the new spot. When you did go to the earlier location and you did try and find out where the NSO group had shifted to, tell us in more detail what the people around there in that vicinity had to tell you.
So I accessed the exact building where the company was located. There is no doubt that there was the building. We've come to know that there was the building through pictures, validation, and through all the open sources available out there on the network. I accessed the area. I talked with the doorman, who's a man who's been working there for a while, and he told me he had no idea about a company named NSO. And this is clearly impossible. Impossible because there is no doubt whatsoever. We are 100% sure that that's the building. I've talked to a lot of people in the area, requesting them to give me the new address, pretending that I knew that the company has moved, and it's fine. Companies can move their premises. This is not such a big deal. But the problem is that a $1 billion company, which is employing 500 to 800 people and is renowned all over the world and works for government with the security clearances of the defense ministry in Israel, is nowhere to be found. So slowly, by gathering more research and more sources, we came across a building which was in the vicinity of the final building where I actually landed, thanks to, I would say, tip that I received along the way. That's the nature of this kind of company. This is a company which does not want to be out there in the public, and it's not something that we have to blame them, because normally they cooperate with law enforcement agencies against terrorism and against organized crime. At least this is what they say. But the problem is that now their very own software is being used by governments to spy on people who do not definitely fall into the categories of terrorism and do not fall into the category of organized crimes. We're talking about activists, political dissidents, people who are actually on the line of fire fighting somehow for a better world. So they should be held accountable, even if they do not want to be held accountable, because they say that their software has been sold, and what is being done with their software is none of their concern anymore. Basically, it's like when we say that we produce guns, we sell them, and we don't care if these guns are used for mass shootings against children inside schools all over the United States, for instance, just a comparison.
Right, so several pieces to that jigsaw puzzle, and Daniele Pagani has been putting it all together for us and explaining to us what he has been looking at for the last few hours and days with that investigation. We're going to stay on with that, but just a reminder here, that's just one part of the story. There's legal trouble, of course, mounting for the NSO group as well, and exiled Saudi Arabian satirist has filed a lawsuit against the Saudi kingdom. In fact, Khanem al-Masarir accuses Saudi Arabia of surveilling him with the help of the Pegasus spyware. Masarir, who runs a YouTube channel where he airs his views against the Saudi government, has filed a suit in the UK where he has been living since the year 2003. Masarir alleges that the Saudi regime infected his mobile phone with spyware, which allowed them to access his microphone and camera to hear and record his activities. The Saudi satirist has brought a claim for personal injuries resulting from the misuse of private information and harassment in relation to the spyware. He is also bringing a claim relating to an attack that he suffered on the 31st of August last year, which he believes was directed by the Saudi regime. Cyber experts who examined Masarir's phone said that he had been sent malicious texts containing links that looked like they were from reputable courier companies, but when clicked, they led to domains associated with the Pegasus spyware and NSO infrastructure. NSO is the Israeli cyber surveillance firm that we've been talking about, which is also at the heart of the WhatsApp controversy. It's landed in that soup for snooping on journalists, activists and diplomats, including those in India, through WhatsApp. And our London bureau chief, Mandy Clark, has been tracking that side of the story very closely. You've been speaking to experts as well. Tell our viewers where the proceedings are headed next.
Well, they've only taken it to court. It just happened yesterday. But I think what's really key to remember is the way that Saudi has been accused of the murder of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi, and they believe that he was also being tracked. So the fact that he's being spied, the satirist is being spied on by the Saudi government does have a very dark connotation, of course, to that very recent murder when Khashoggi was murdered inside the Saudi embassy in Turkey. So I think with that in mind, having spyware when it comes to human rights activists, where in their own country they wouldn't have the ability to protest or create these satires, which he does on his YouTube channel, where he does make fun of the Saudi royal family, that is illegal in Saudi Arabia. And when in the past we've seen when Saudi Arabia takes a dislike to human rights activists or satirists or people speaking badly of the kingdom, there has been that murder of the journalist. So I think it's more than just intimidation and threats. There's a very real and underlying issue when it comes to having human rights activists being targeted in countries where they would have that right to speak. So that is the kind of the underlying concern that comes with this court case. But it has just been filed. It has yet to have a date, and we do know that they are suing the Saudi government as well as the spyware company.
All right, stay with me, Mandy and Daniele. Let's also take a closer look at the profile of the founding members of the company that we are talking about here. Shalev Holio is the co-founder and the CEO at the NSO Systems. He had served as a major in the Israeli Defense Forces and is a specialist in cybersecurity and big data. Julio is also the founder of high-tech companies which are involved in search and rescue operations, while he continues to serve as a reserve in the Israeli army. Omri Lavi was the co-founder and director of the NSO Group, who served as the firm's first CEO and specializes in cybersecurity and intelligence. He is presently the CEO of Orchestra Group. Next on the list is Stefan Kowski, NSO's Group Director. Kowski served in senior roles in investment firms. He also was involved in investment projects across the world. The NSO Group Director, Stephen Peel, headed top global private investment firms and holds expertise in investment markets. Gunter Schmidt, NSO's Group Director, advises on governance, on finance and mergers and acquisitions. Michael Bettito, also a Group Director, is an investment professional. Gerhard Schmidt, another Group Director, is a leading lawyer in a private equity firm holding expertise in corporate restructuring. Daniele, those are the key names that we've been talking about. And the very fact is that even though you've not been able to get in any of those people to speak to us, they've not been responding to any of those interview requests. All that they've responded with is a week-old statement. The fact remains that they are facing legal trouble, and one of these key figures needs to also appear before the court, and that's something that is going to be watched very, very closely.
Definitely, yes. There is also a lawsuit which has been filed by Amnesty International, and it was due in court on the 7th of November, which means day after tomorrow, but it has been postponed till January the 16th. So sooner or later, one of the very cases that they are involved into, be it the Amnesty lawsuit, be it the Saudi satirist lawsuit, be it the WhatsApp lawsuit, be it the lawsuit of the friends of Jamal Khashoggi, who decided also to launch a lawsuit against them, one of these cases will land in court, and they hence will be appearing in court and will need to justify their position. Their position has been clear when it comes to public relations. They say that they provide governments and strictly vetted law enforcement agencies with softwares that allow to access mobile phones or devices of people who are considered a threat to the global security. The leader of the NSO group said that they have saved thousands of lives, but as a matter of fact, this very product is being used, and I would like to repeat it, in order to hack into phones and to devices of people who are not terrorists. We're talking about Saudi satirists, and it means that the government of Saudi Arabia, who might have purchased the Pegasus software, is using it for something that it was not meant to. Hence, the company, the originating company of this product, the NSO, should take steps when it comes to this. They should perhaps at least vet more thoroughly the use that is made of their product. And the courts, one of the cases in court, perhaps will establish that. Amnesty is requesting to the Israeli Ministry of Defense to cancel the exportation license to the NSO group for this very software.
Right, so several crucial parts to that story, one of them being how the NSO headquarters almost overnight vanished into thin air, and then now Daniele Pagani, our West Asia Bureau Chief, who's been putting all those pieces together, has found where the office has now been shifted to, and this is what he found where he visited that spot.
I am currently in the business quarter of Tel Aviv, to the north of the capital city of Israel, a place called Herzliya. After days of research, we have been able to find where the NS group is finally and definitely currently located. It's the big building you see behind me, the taller one on the back, this one that you can see. It's an anonymous building and there is no logo outside, but I have access to their premises and I have had a word with the doorman. It is a secure building. There is a large waiting hall with Israeli flags. There is no way to get inside the building without a badge because there is a security checkpoint. The doorman very clearly said that yes, the NSO group is located there, but I cannot access them. I cannot talk to them. It was impossible also for him to call them. The only way I would have had as a journalist to access the NSO company would have been to provide a name inside the company who knew my name and confirmed the fact that they were actually waiting for me. And this comes after days that we at WION and I personally have tried to reach out to the company in order to get their version of the story. But this is completely a sign of how this kind of companies operate. They have released an interview to a very popular Israeli website saying that silence is their strategy, so they would like to keep silent. But this is the building, so now we can positively say that we actually found their premises, but there is unfortunately no way to talk them, to access them, unless they agree specifically to meet on the very purpose of the story we're following, which is the story of the lawsuit that WhatsApp is throwing against them. In fact, WhatsApp has accused the company, or the product, or the flagship product of this company, the Pegasus software, of having been used to hack many people all around the world. Diplomats, political activists, dissidents and journalists, and 120 of them have also been hacked in India.